like to call to order the meeting of the City Council of Greenwood. It's Monday, July the 7th, 2014. Jason Zerbell was going to do the prayer for us tonight. He had an emergency. He came by, just apologize real quick. He had a member of his church had an emergency, so he had to leave real quick. I'm going to ask our Parks Director, Richard McKinney, to lead us in prayer, and following that, Chief Will Dawson to lead us in pledge of allegiance.
Our Heavenly Father, we want to thank you this evening for the opportunity to live in a country and a state and city as great as yours. We ask you to be with us during these proceedings, help us to remain civil as we deal with each other. Be with our city leaders as they make decisions. We pray that they seek your guidance and make decisions that will be pleasing according to your will. We pray once again that this all, everything that be said and done here this evening be pleasing according to your will.
At this time, I'd like for the council to look at and ask for approval for the minutes from our last meeting, June the 2nd. I make the motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion made and second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Carson?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll go on to the committee reports. I'll begin with the committee reports. Water, Wastewater Committee. We have a report this evening. Steve's not here. Okay, no report. Okay. We'll move on to the Boys and Girls Club. Mr. Kitty Sunday.
Mayor, Council, Charlotte. We just finished an exciting baseball season out there. This last month we had state warm-up, which we brought in about 30 teams. Had a good time on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then the following week, the last weekend of June, we had the single A state tournament, which we had 38 teams. All but 6 of them lived at least 2 hours away. So they all came in from out of town. I'd like to publicly thank Mr. John at Formac for the trophies and everything he did for us and everything. They were really outstanding. The kids really liked them. I'd like to say thanks to the police department. They would send a guy out there. He'd come out there and walk the park a little bit and get him a free hot dog and a Coke while he's there. So we appreciate that. Gearing up. Getting everything ready for another after-school program coming up. Our goal this year is to reach 200. Our highest number to date was 162. We have some plans in work to bring more kids over there and get ready for soccer. And besides that, everything else is going great. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Kenny. Ring pops and frozen pickles, sickles, I think is the way to keep those kids right, if I remember right. Thank you for all that you do. Ms. Jones from SRCA.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilor Charlotte, Mr. Handy. We've had a busy month and we're on the increase again. I made a mistake on y'all's sheet down at the bottom where it says 209 fewer meals. It should actually be 154 more meals served this year versus last year. I forgot to change it, so forgive me. I'm happy to say that since school's been out, we've got a college student that comes in and volunteers to help deliver meals, and we have a high school student that's been coming in. So the seniors love that, especially out on the routes, to see a new face and someone young out doing. We have game night and potluck and very busy evening. And this month we're going to Lynn's house, and We're going to be there at 5 o'clock on the 24th, so y'all are welcome to come and join us and have a good time with that. This month we served 683 congregant meals, 1,240 home delivery meals. I took 4 new home delivery clients this month. Socialization was 683 and transportation was 180. Our area-wide, we served 3,299 meals. 1,923 of those were within the city of Greenwood or their citizens coming into the center, and 1,376 were out in the surrounding area. So the need is still greater inside the city. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And again, ring pops and pickle tickles, I think. Oh, there you go. Thank you for what you do. I know seniors enjoy going over there. It's a great asset to the city. Thank you. Let's see. Mr. Grimes is not here this evening. Parks Commission. I thought, well, I'll get back to him.
City Council, Mike Candy, Mr. Mayor, Charlie Moon. First of all, I want to thank the Freedom Fest Committee for putting on the 4th of July celebration at our town square. I think it's the biggest and the best we've ever had in Greenwood. I want to thank all the city departments for all their assistance in making it all possible. Mr. Mayor, is there anything else you would like to add to that?
It was absolutely that. We had a lot of compliments, and again, we think it was probably the biggest and the best. And street department, everybody that came. What I was very impressed was that there was somebody there from every department. It seems like to help out, and we appreciate that very much. I think it was just made a big difference in the city. Thank you.
Now, the Parks Commission met on June 17th, and some of the items that we took into our meeting was the review of changes in the job description for the Parks Director. There are more changes to be made, and another review will be made at our next commission meeting in July. The commission approved and signed a resolution for contract services for our contract Parks Director at that time. We had a speaker from One Source Innovation, spoke to the commission regarding custom access control systems for Greenwood parks, notably the Ed Wilkinson Community Building. There were plenty of questions asked to the representative, but no decisions made at this time. And that's locking of the doors and stuff, so there wouldn't be keys given out to everybody. The warranty deed was signed by the Winfords for the Caboose property. I believe the 30th of June, a check was mailed to the Winfords, and now we go. The next step is to record the deeds at the courthouse, and then we can start moving ahead on the Caboose. Those that have been driving around the city of Greenwood, you can see the fencing project around the square has been complete. The street department completed a final assessment of the lake pavilion. All the brush trees are cleared, and we met, Parks people met with our COA to evaluate the access to bring in a concrete truck, and they gave us a few recommendations, and we're ready to go. Any questions?
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for what you do with Parks Commission. I will add something that I just kind of slipped my mind there for a second. The Freedom Fest Committee, and I know you mentioned them, they do a lot of, thank you for getting that together, making that bigger and better. And the lady that's standing at the back of the room is the key to that, and Kimberly Brown. So we want to thank Kimberly for that. Just don't come watch her when she does those things with us. It's kind of scary. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you. Thanks to the Parks Commission and the Freedom Fest Committee. And I beg your pardon, Mr. Lee Webb. I just skipped right over you. Looking around, I couldn't find you. So Lee Webb is here in the place of Gary Grimes, if you'd like to take time. Do you have any report? Or? Okay.
week all the way, so if y'all got any questions.
Thank you, appreciate it. MAHG Police Station construction progress, Mr. Lejeune.
Pass these around real quick. This is kind of our update, 90% get set. Here's the updated budget. Mayor, Council, Mr. Hamby, Ms. Derry. We've attached an updated schedule as to where we are. As you can see, I just passed around the 90% set of construction documents. We're nearing in on completion of those. We met with Will and his staff last week to look at computer locations and security and things like that inside the building. So that's in process. We've also been working on furniture budgets and furnishings for the building, as well as storage lockers, evidence lockers, and seating inside the building. We are planning on having the final construction documents complete on July 21st. And then it takes about a 3-week bidding period to do that. I had an error in the last schedule that I presented to you guys. I think I added in the actual date of the city council meeting, but didn't shift the schedule back. So we would preferably like to request, because we're so late in the game, request a special called meeting on August 12th, or at your guys' leisure. That was, I think, at the Tuesday, to do the bid openings on that evening. And I had sent an email to Doug and Charlotte and Will to discuss that earlier, but just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. And then we would proceed immediately into contract negotiation and awarding the project after that. I didn't change the start time. We're still planning on starting the construction on around August 20th, or basically the end of August, and still the same time for the project, 300-day construction time. We're looking at finishing the project still around the 1st of July, or middle of July 2015. Also included an updated progress budget of where we are. We've started some of the work on the furnishing layout, so there's a little bit of fee involved with it, and then updated on architectural fees. Everything you see highlighted in gray is actually completed work. So as we get closer to the completion of the construction documents, these additional line items at the bottom will be start to fill in, and until we get the bid numbers in, we're targeting 8.75 million for the project. So hopefully we stay real close to that number, and then we will try to stay on budget with the rest of the items as we go along. And still looking at a total estimated cost of $2.77 million. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. And there's a lot of drawings in that set, and we're not 100% complete, but we're narrowing in on that, and hopefully here in just the next couple weeks we will be finished.
Michael, do you need an answer, or how soon do you need an answer on that?
We actually won't need an answer on the proposed date until we advertise, because we'll have to, so by the 21st of July, 22nd of July, we need to know what our bid date can be. And we have to allow because it's a state project, we have to allow 3 weeks for the bidding. So we don't want to shorten that time. So I would like to say we could be finished a week earlier, but just what we were kind of late in the game getting with Will's security people last week. We had a meeting scheduled with them, and it got canceled, and it was finally rescheduled for last week. So that puts us a little bit behind on the electrical side, really getting all that wrapped up. But like I say, we're less than a month away from completing all the documents, so we need every minute we can at this point.
Council, would you want to try to decide that tonight?
I'm okay. Send it out there.
12's good for everybody?
What time?
It's at your leisure.
Earlier. You want to do earlier than 7? Is that okay, Lance?
You just have to make it whatever, because I never know.
10, what do you want? 6?
Yeah, on
6 on the 12th.
Okay. 6 p.m. on the 12th.
other specific questions for us? We're ready to get the thing good.
The payroll position working out good?
Yes, it's actually going very smooth.
Good. Seems like it's good.
Very efficient.
Are you reacclimated to the altitude yet?
Barely, but I'm getting there.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Okay, Annexation Committee, Mr. McKinney.
Evening, one more time. No new developments in that. I wanted to go over, though, as we're looking at the third vote possibly tonight, the summary of why we did what we did. And the primary purpose of the committee was to look at the best interest of the city and residents of Greenwood on that, looking at future planning and growth of the city. The reasons we chose the area to study that we did were based on several factors. One of those, we looked at the areas that were already receiving city services, such as Shadow Lake receiving city water, sewer, fire protection, backup police protection, and so on. We also looked at areas that had a near-term commercial value to the city. So that's the areas along Highway 71, on both sides of it, beginning at the Long Ridge, Hidden Valley, the road area all the way down to south of Highway 10, and then looking at the properties on the south side of Highway 10 between Highway 71 and the existing city limits. Those we determined to have commercial value, that the city had an interest in applying its zoning standards to before any development occurred in those areas. We also looked at areas that, based on the growth of the city in the past, have been cut off from the county in terms of direct access. These are the areas at the north end of Alma Road, where the only way county services, fire, police, and so on, can get to those areas is by driving through the city of Greenwood at that point, where there are no roads connecting those areas to the county other than the city of Greenwood streets. We looked at the logic of having those areas, if not legally surrounded by the city, functionally surrounded by the city. And then we looked at logical terrain features, looking at distinctive terrain features that we'd say this makes sense to put a boundary there. And you can look at the map and say, yes, that's why there's a boundary. It's easy to trace on that. And in that case, we were looking on the north part of the city at the Long Ridge complex. That begins at Highway 71, then runs north, the ridge running north of Shadow Lake, where the water tank is there, and then continues almost, we jumped up, taken the Williamson Lake, and then followed that ridge all the way to North Main Street. So there are distinctive terrain features there for the northern boundaries of the city. Those are modified by the actual property boundaries, since we'll be looking at annexing entire pieces of property at that point. But that's the logical reason we did that. Those should come into question. An issue was in this weekend's Southwest Times record reporting on this vote tonight. The issue keeps coming up of if we annex an area, in particular Shadow Lake, we will have to go in and improve the streets and water and so on. That is not a legal requirement. Depends on what you put into the ordinance. If you say we'll provide services and maintain existing services, that's what we do. There is no requirement to bring an area up to our current new construction standards, such as we require for a developer who is coming in, putting in streets with curb guttering, 8-inch water lines, fire hydrants every X number of feet, and so on. That's what we require for new construction. And it's also what we're doing. And the city has been doing forever, if you will, as we get the money, we identify the worst areas, we go back and improve those areas, such as 15 years ago, when the city improved all the water lines here in the old part of town. And we took out all the 100-year-old lines, put in new lines, put in new water hydrants, put in proper distance, and so on. And we've done in other parts of town as we have the money and as it is required, we do that. And that would be the same standard you could provide to any annexed area. And in the case of Shadow Lake, we're already responsible for maintaining those systems. And it would come under our current plan for upgrading and replacing as required, and as we have money available for coming onto that. So it's not a new requirement. It's not going to require the city to spend money that it isn't already committed to do based on providing those services. Are there any questions? Mike? Council? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will move into the citizen forum tonight. We do have one citizen that has signed up to speak, and I would ask that Mrs. Carol Simpson step up, please. And if you wouldn't, I've already stated your name, but if you would do that again for me, please, and your address, appreciate it.
Carol Simpson, 3116 Lakeside Drive in Greenwood. And I'm actually reading a statement on behalf of Shirley Walters, who was here but couldn't stay. To Greenwood City Council, Planning Commission, Mayor, etc. I apologize for not being able to stay for the City Council meeting tonight. I have another commitment at 7, but I am also fairly certain it will do no good to state my position, but I will try. I just recently found out that my property, which contains approximately 60 acres, is included in the proposed annexation of the Shadow Lakes area. I am very opposed to being annexed into the city. I understand that the city would get my tax dollars, which will increase substantially. The city would get the taxes from land, one resident, and providing no services. I have no roads that the city would maintain. I have James Fork water. I have septic, so I would not get that service. I am satisfied with the Genuine Fire Station for fire protection, and the County Sheriff's Department does a very good job in protection. If I were in the city and a police officer had to come all the way out to my property, it would pull from taking care of the present residents of the city. Being in the city would have no benefits to me and only restrict the use of my land. Having ponds and woods, it is necessary that I be able to use firearms to prevent snakes, coons, opossums, and coyotes from causing harm. I would like to request that my property be taken out of the annexation, but if that does not happen, I hope that at the very least you allow those of us with larger acreage to be able to use guns to take care of issues on the property. Sincerely, Shirley Walters, 15971 Highway 71 South, Greenwood.
Thank you. Are there any other, that was the only resident we had sign up tonight, but I believe that sometimes if you come in a hurry or you forget, yes sir, so please step up to the microphone, state your name, and we basically need to limit all.
One quick question.
Okay.
Charles Armour, know several people already. If a large parcel of land is landlocked and only has a use easement, and the landowner through which the easement goes is reluctant to grant a further easement, if such a time came up, say 10, 20 years from now, when development was feasible, could the city do something about that in terms of eminent domain? Would the city?
Legally, the city could do something about that. Now, whether they would or not would be dependent upon who your representatives were at that time.
So it's all basically hypothetical.
That's correct.
Thank you. Any other statements, comments from citizens this time? Thank you. Okay, we will look into agenda additions. Department heads have anything to add? Yes, sir. Okay. It will be number 10. Pardon? 10. Yes, thank you. From the street department. Anyone else other than myself? I actually need to add appointments by the mayor to the Water Commission, number 11. Anyone else? Right. That you don't see? Go into old business. Number 1, planning. Mr. Bell.
Mayor, Council, Mr. Geary, Mr. Canby. Tonight we have for the third reading the annexation ordinance that is on the agenda. We have submitted this to you 2 times before, and there's been some changes along the way. So we're asking for this to be passed tonight and move forward. As you see over here, that is our official annexation map. You have a smaller copy in your hand, but it gives the different areas and alphabetically, so that you can look at it and see the areas that we're talking about. The legal descriptions have been forwarded to Mike Canby. He has a copy of that, and so we can add this to the ordinance under Section 1, where it says legal descriptions be added when completed. So we can add the legal descriptions there. Mr. McKinney said on Section 7 that he would like to see water and sewer added to the service. Since our water plant and our sewer plants are large enough to support any of this property, it's available. But so if anybody at a subdivision moves out in that area and they want to run sewer pipes to our system can handle it. So he said he would suggest putting water and sewer into that column. But other than that, we have no further changes.
Yeah, from my perspective, due to the past month, I was on vacation, and also some of my folks that I'm working with at the municipal league have been on vacation. I would ask that the third reading be tabled until next month, and I want to present the final format to the municipal league and have them to give thumbs up on it in the final format. It would be the one that there was litigation, ultimately filed, it would be defending it, and I would feel more comfortable.
Will that still keep us on our timeline, Mike?
I believe that's right. Where's Mr. McKinney? Is he still here? Yeah, we're still good.
Okay.
I second the motion.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Motion and second.
Mr. Brown?
No.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Got a 7 for 1 vote.
Right.
Anything else on that? Thank you, Mr. Bell. Next one is Mr. Bell, planning. Ordinance to allow discharge of firearms in city limits.
Again, this is an ordinance that's up for its third reading. We have gone through this. We have made some changes. This document here is with the changes that we talked about in the last meeting. For example, the discharge of shotguns only. The age has been changed to 18 years. I think that might be the only changes that we considered. I think one thing that we did put in here is the land that has been annexed since January 1 of 2014. I think those are the 3 changes that we decided to make on this ordinance. So I'm asking you put this up for the third reading.
Wasn't there a distance number, or yardage, or foot number we were?
Yes, I think we increased it to 300 yards.
If I remember right, the changes we made were section 2.7, we added the target practice area. That wasn't on there.
Okay, yeah.
Correct. And then we changed the age on section 3A. And then section 4A, we went from 10 to 20 acres. We changed it to annex after January 1 in zone for agricultural and horticulture.
Yeah, and then they shotgun.
Changed 300 yards. Correct?
Yes. And like I say, the shotgun only clause.
And those are the only changes I remember
I think you're right.
We discussed, and that looks like the ones.
And the shells are out in the maze area.
That's right.
Right.
From shall to may.
Are y'all looking for a motion?
Just let you know,
Just-
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we pass this ordinance for third and final reading.
Second.
By title only. No. By title only. By title.
Who second, please?
So motion made and seconded.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Ms. Terry? Unanimous. An ordinance regulating the discharge of firearms, air guns, pellet guns, bows, and similar weapons within the corporate limits of the city of Greenwood, Arkansas, providing penalties, providing a repeal of existing ordinances or section of ordinances in conflict herewith, declaring emergency and code purposes.
Okay. Good with that. Thank you, Mr. Bell. Appreciate you. Next up is the second reading of engine braking ordinance. City Attorney, Mr. Hamby.
Once again, this is correct. The ordinance that we had in effect previously is exactly the same as the one we had before, with the exception of we're changing the term Jake brake to engine brake. And I'm just asking for this on second reading by title only. I'm adding a sentence to this, which will be for the third reading, that exempts emergency vehicles from application of the ordinance to cover our fire truck.
Make a motion to put it on for second reading by title only.
Second. Motion made and second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Ms. Terry? Unanimous. An ordinance repealing ordinance number 11-07, regulating noise within the city limits, prohibiting engine braking, providing penalties and for other purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Hamby. We'll move right on into the new business. Dr. Johnson.
Yeah, at our last AMP Commission meeting, Mr. Gossett, due to his health issues, had difficulty attending AMP Commission meetings, and we do need a second councilman on that commission, and it is troublesome sometimes getting a quorum, and so we'd like to go ahead and add Mr. Powell to that commission pending the approval of the council.
I just have a comment or a question. I was wondering, I mean, I'm not voting obviously, but Mr. Gossett has been notified, or you talked to him about this, or?
That's a good question. I think Sean.
Or you were able to?
I texted him, and he said that's fine with him.
Just want to make sure somebody spoke to him.
Rod, you good with it?
What was that?
You good with it?
Yeah, as long as this is temporary until Mr. Gossett comes back. That's the way I view it.
Sure.
That's the way I worded it too. Till he's in.
As long as it's temporary, because I'm not giving up on Mr. Gossett. He's a friend of mine, he's a neighbor, and
That's why I'm asking.
I'm hoping he gets his health back and has a long, productive life.
We all do.
So, but I'll fill in just to help him out with making a quorum, and then when he shows back up, I'll step back.
I think that's all the commission was looking for. It's sometimes difficult to get us all in one place.
And for those who don't know, there's 2 councilmen on there.
Yes, and then the rest of them are business people here in town that own some kind of business.
Well, it has to be
It's
restaurant and
restaurants.
lodging, and then one at large,
Right, the at-large is Mike, and then the restaurant folks.
and that's all dictated by state statute. Governing body has 2, 4 from restaurant or lodging. We don't have any lodging, and then one at large.
Well, I'll make a motion, or have you already made a motion?
I guess I'll make the motion.
Too bad. I'll second.
Thank you, sir.
Motion made and second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
I'll abstain.
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Ms. Terry? Motion carries.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. And for those of and I don't have a real good update, Mr. Gossett is home, I know, from Baylor, Texas, and that's about all I know for sure. So keep him in your prayers for sure. So we'd like to see him come back. Okay, I have a resolution for property cleanup, and I have an apology to make real quick before we get it. One is that last month, my very first council meeting, I thought really we'll just stop this real quick and get, Mr. Bell was in front of the council to basically get this passed. Am I on the right one? Yeah. And I decided we could do this a little bit different and get our own people to clean it up. And we are pursuing that, but it has been decided among those who get paid to decide those sort of things that we need to take money from the general fund to fund so we can pay the street department to do these cleanups, because their funds are restricted for the streets. If that makes sense. So there's a resolution, and for some reason I'm not seeing it. Is it right here? Oh, here we go. Thank you. Resolution amending the 2014 City of Greenwood budget to increase salaries, laborers, fuel equipment, and miscellaneous expense within the street fund and for other purposes. We have a $10,000 amount in here, right?
Yes, it's broken down.
Broken down.
Things,
Okay.
labor and equipment.
This is so we can move as quickly as we possibly can in getting some of these empty lots, these abandoned homes, things like that cleaned up and pay our own folks to do it. We don't know how far $10,000 will go, but we know it's get us farther than we've been before. So we need to start cleaning. We have citizens that are calling and complaining, and don't blame them whatsoever. You live in a nice house and you live in a nice neighborhood, and right next door is an abandoned home or a lot that needs to be mowed, and we need to get them cleaned up as quickly as we can. So, any questions?
I was going to ask you when we went to this way, would you go look into pursuing maybe on some of that documentation that North Rock has done?
I definitely want to see that. I know you and Rod, I believe, went to that breakout session. I didn't get to attend, but I would want to see that.
I have it.
Do you have it?
I guess
Okay.
I'll forward it to you and Mike Hamby and
Okay.
Lance.
And on the same topic, Mr. Bell and our code enforcement officer visited with Mr. Hamby just recently about this issue. I mean, we really want to start targeting and try to get things cleaned up and see how quickly we can move. We don't want to move too quickly and tear down the wrong house, but we want to make sure that we're trying to do the right thing and do it by law. So, yeah, we're definitely interested in seeing that, getting that information. I just think this is a good step to try to get it started.
Well, have we looked at just pursuing, I guess, outside contractors, and is that cost been prohibitive?
Well, it's just more expensive. I mean, we have our own equipment. Joe, I think, came up with a few numbers for us, and that's kind of how we came up with some of this breakdown, I thought, on it. We definitely can do it ourselves cheaper. That's the thought, at least. I think this is, and I hate to say $10,000 is an experiment, but it kind of is. There's no doubt if we call a dozer guy and a dump truck and a backhoe, it's going to cost us more than what we can send our guys to do it, or we feel like. Joe, do you want to? Yeah, these are the bigger. We're talking about cleanups that need more than what Richard's guys can do. So, but yeah, we're still considering that. I mean, we just feel like this is good. Joe, do you want to touch on that about what it would cost possibly? And I know you got a little bit of a price, I think, from one contract.
Well, the main thing is we don't really know until we start, because there's some that's going to need demolition, some just going to be cleanup, but also the expense of landfill fees.
Mr. Hamby did caution us, rightly so, to be careful when we're talking about, right, as far as tearing down structures. We've had a lot of issues with, certainly if there's any thought of all of asbestos. So, but there's one particular on Bayberry that's already down, has been down for a long, long time. And if I lived beside it, I would have already been down here to council meetings. And it just needs to be cleaned up. I mean, there's no excuse. We have gone through the process of trying to notify the owners. We've done, I think, our due diligence. Yeah. So, but does that answer your question? I mean, I think you were more asking, can we get it cheaper by an outside contractor?
Yeah, so I guess that's what I was just kind of looking, I guess when we were talking about this, I was just thinking that it was just going to be kind of done within the streets, kind of within the existing budget, and everything. I didn't realize that we're going to have to pull out $10,000
we can't out of their budget because their money is restricted for streets repair. So this is
Streets
beyond-
repair and
it's out-
maintenance, and this is actually on private
This is
property.
outside the scope. So whether obviously if we paid an outside contractor, we have to come from the general anyway, correct?
But I guess, but it still is city workers doing it on private property, so I guess what does it matter where it comes from then? Or you're saying that it's
Not related
It's
to the
been funded.
street. The funds that are in the street department's budget are limited on what they can be used for, and cleanup is not one of them.
So this is, in essence, though, it's a planning issue, I guess, at the core. But even if we say that he's going to have to, say Sonny's got to pay for this, it's an ordinance, a code violation per se. You know, even if it had to come out of his budget, it still had to come out of the general because he doesn't have 10,000.
That's correct.
I mean, so it's going to have to come out of the general, whoever does the labor, I guess.
Right.
So basically, we're just hoping that Joe underbids a local contractor.
That's correct. If we are going to move and do, here's I like to move. If we're going to do anything, we're going to have to pay for it, either way. And we're hoping, as you just said, that he can do it cheaper than the guy down the street with a bulldozer. If we're not going to do anything, we're not going to do anything.
Well, only issues
it may be that once the information that Lance and or Councilman Terry and Councilman Powell provide, there may be another avenue. And if you guys want to talk about that right now, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming no one's going to do it for free, but
The only issue I have is, one, is it going to take, do they have time for it? I guess is the main deal. I don't know, Joe's worn pretty thin over there, and I know those guys have work to do. That was the first issue I have is that he needs to take care of his normal duties in the streets and what have you. Secondly, that's a local guy that probably needs some money in his pocket. So I don't have any problem with having a local guy do some work and help him and go there.
Yeah, we've got 3 properties, basically what we're looking at, that we have got to do something about. You know, the one on Bayberry, one on Denver Street, and then the one out on Coker. I mean, the people who live around those things have suffered long enough, and we need to do something. And this was our, you could put $10,000 in my budget, but it's going to have to come to me, to Joe, and all that. So we might as well just put it in the street department, let him handle it. And like I said, we don't want it to be an ongoing problem, but it's going to jump up there once in a while. And then he can take care of it at his leisure. Right now, we've kind of got our back up against the wall. We have got to do something with those 3 properties. Then after that, we can kind of take a deep breath, and if anything else comes up, then we can schedule it out.
I agree with you totally. That's what I was trying to say. The 10 grand's got to be paid to somebody, come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
The thing about an outside contractor, say if an outside contractor gives us a price for $5,000 to do something, well, in-house price to the street department will probably be $3,000. So we're saving $2,000 by going to the street department because we're using, internal labor prices, internal costs on equipment. Where if you're using a contractor, he's charging you, this one guy's getting $100 an hour, the machine's getting, so much an hour too. So we thought this would be the least expensive for the city.
You just need to decide, do you want us to pull off a normal job?
That's what I'm saying.
I think that's
up to you, Joe.
That's really an administrative decision. Because,
I agree.
I mean, for us, it's our decision to decide whether we're going to allot the money. As far as the priority with which it gets addressed is really a decision for the mayor's office.
Sounds like a good time for some fire training. I'd burn some houses. Let them boys go in there and work on vacant lot fire
I
patrol.
agree with you 100% if I could get our fire chief to sign off on that.
Well, y'all, like y'all said, we've done our due diligence. We've been after this for years. I'm sick of hearing about it. I just soon go out there and mow them down with a dozer, and who cares? And we'll go come sue us. Everybody sues us. Who cares? I'm sick of seeing it. I'm sick of hearing about and talking about this. To be quite honest with you.
I know how to operate the bulldozer.
That's why I'm just go out there and mow them down. They won't. I promise you, the landlords won't care. They're probably just waiting for us to do it to save them the trouble.
Exactly.
Way more than 10,000. I'll make a motion, we allot the money from the general fund to the street fund for property cleanup, trusting that the administrative process will work out the priorities.
Yes, sir. Mr. McKinney.
If I may address council, does this affect my department also, because I'm using city resources on my property? When I have to go mow?
I don't think so, because all the money for the parks comes from the general fund anyway. It's more about restricting funding. The funding to the street comes from a different pot. Is that correct, Mr. Henry?
Yeah, the street fund is the only one, for whatever reason, that the legislature is really restricted and tied their hands on. Every other fund is fine.
There is,
Second it.
we have a little bit more discussion. I mean, we can go ahead and do that.
Okay, motion.
Motion's made and second to approve the resolution, correct?
Yep. Second.
Who seconded?
I did.
Mr.
Rob.
Powell.
Well, Mr. Hamby, what are, and Stuart, you may have Chief Bride, what's the protocol if you just do a control burn? Why couldn't you do that and say,
Especially the one out on Coker.
Well, that one can be burned.
Yeah, there is one of these that has,
And those we're
That's
gonna
best.
look at just boarding up.
We're not
We've got to
demo it.
We've got to get some of these properties where they're safe. The one on Coker Street's got 2 or 3 old buildings in there. Kids can play in, there's no telling what's crawling in and out there. And so we can board them up and make them safe until at such time we can go through the process to get to a demolition stage. But like I said, we've kind of got our backs up against the wall. We want to take care of these things, get them cleaned up, and then we can look at, the little house here on Main Street. Like the first house on the right, the old Holland house. Those two probably need to be taken down. In fact, the Holland said, after they've got some, what was it, they were gonna cut some hay this spring or summer, and then they're gonna tear down that one house itself. That's gonna leave the first house there. The lady that owns it, there's an Oklahoma City, I think that's a rest home. Mike's had conversations with her, I've had conversations, and you can tell that you're not dealing with a rational person. And so we're gonna have to go through the legal process to get that. And then, of course, it's so close to the other structure, the antique store, we would think about burning that anyway, but it's not gonna take a whole lot to knock it down.
I think everybody, go ahead.
Well, y'all talked earlier about that seminar that me and Lance went to. It was put on by North Little Rock. I just wanted to expand on it because we seem to be going down that road. It's really just a plan and a process, and they've sent everything to me, and they said, do you have our permission to just scratch off North Little Rock and put Greenwood, Arkansas? They feel like that they have become very adept at tearing down houses. They can tear them down quicker than anybody else, and that they've already been through all the legal challenges.
Well, the tearing down of the structures, like I said, we've only got about 3 of those, but we've got a tremendous amount of hard yard work.
He kind of addresses that too.
Yeah. And so, talking to Mr. Hamby, we decided to go with citations more than anything else. Hit them with citations and, recoup money that way. And right now we've got 3 that Joseph said we're ready to go to the lien process. Now, we might have to put liens on some, but the others, for example, you got a large lot out there and it grows up 4 foot tall. Well, we go through the process and finally the guy goes out there, gets him a brush hog, he mows it down. Well, guess what happens in 2 months? It's back up 4 foot again. And so instead of going through this process again, he's going to get a ticket that time. And it's going to be a ticket based on the number of days that it takes to get him to clean this up. And he's going to be made aware of it on the first one. But you've got your warning. After that, you're getting citations. And like Mike Camby says, when they have to take off a day of their job and show up to court, and the court's going to tell them, you've got X number of days to do it, or you're going to be charged $25 a day until you do, that's going to get somebody's attention. And it's not going to take a whole lot of them around Greenwood before the word gets out.
were you going to go any more on that, Ron, on what you did?
Well, it follows along. They've taken that avenue of writing citations, just like a speeding ticket. And when they get in these circumstances, like this lady lives in Oklahoma City or whatever, you actually, in this process, you stop and you fill out an agreement with the city of North Little Rock and this is what I agree to do. And the day that you don't fulfill that agreement, they send a bulldozer out there and level it. And then if it goes to court, you know, you got this agreement, you know, this is what happened. And they've got it down to a pretty fast process. They can kind of tear something down in about 60 days.
There's a mandatory court appearance.
There's a mandatory court
The main
appearance.
problem we have is the people won't respond to us. Just like this lady in Oklahoma, you might call out there, you know, we sent her registered letters, this, that, and the other.
The other one is the rural home development when you're dealing with the federal government. That may won't acknowledge you as well.
But the one on Coker Street, we know who owns it. We know that she lives in Van Buren. We send registered letters, she doesn't pick them up. We call, she won't answer the phone. So we have done our due diligence in trying to contact these people, and so now we need to know what next step, like you said. You know, you know, how do you can't find them to get them to sign that contract saying they're going to do it.
I'll email all of y'all, including you, and I'll email Joe, this, but I guess at hand, I mean, what City of North Little Rock said, it's just going to cost you money to clean up your city, at least in the beginning.
Exactly.
And that's where we're at right now. We just need to appropriate money to start cleaning up our city. And then let's let the administration go with it. And, you know.
But again, I think it helps when people see that we're serious about this.
And I
find out that somebody's getting a citation for not mowing his lawn, or yard, or whatever, and the word will get around.
I appreciate what you said about local businesses too. I mean, as we know, there's a truck and a backhoe and a dozer in every other driveway in Greenwood. So if it comes down to it after we start this process, that it makes sense, because the last thing Joe needs to do is something other than what he should be doing and what the citizens would prefer him to do, and that's fixing roads. So if it doesn't work out that way, we can.
You know, as you go along,
we'll adjust quickly.
If it's a house, Joe might say, well, I'm going to contract this out. It's just too much, we're busy and all this. But if it's just maybe something like what's on Bayberry, Joe says, I can run over in 4 hours and have the whole thing done. And, you know, so we'll probably ought to let the administration have the flexibility to decide whether they should hire it out or do it themselves.
And I think the one on Denver, you know, with a brush hog to go there and knock it down, board up the windows and doors and be gone out of that in a day's time. You know, like I said, we've got 3 that we've got to deal with as soon as possible, and then it'll ease out. I mean, we don't have that many of that magnitude in the city. The others are abandoned homes. Some of them have gotten out of control where we're going to have to use a brush hog once. Then after that, we can use a mower. But the 3 that I'm talking about, we're at a standstill.
But I think, to me, we don't want them to get to the point where they're just falling in on themselves. I mean, there's a point where you can say that well, this has been abandoned, and they're never going to, you know, renovate this or make it useful again.
Those are the 3 we're talking about. They're all in that condition. They're about to fall in on themselves. The one on Denver has already fallen in on itself. The one on Bayberry, you know, it's just a pile of rubble. So, you know, like I said, once we get those 3 taken care of, we can kind of take a deep breath and then start looking and scheduling.
And I would echo what Dr. Johnson said, that, you know, I'd like to see that if the streets does start on one, that they would, you know, finish it to completion or whatever, you know, not just pull off and that process last a couple of weeks or whatever. I know it's
okay. We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Ms. Terry?
Well, only other question I got, I'm looking at this salaries, laborers, is that just kind of in general area for contracting out, not just for one person?
That's to pay the street.
Right.
There. Is that what, yeah, just a general, and I just leaned over and asked Ms. Derry a while ago if this didn't work out, these numbers, we'd have to come back and pass another resolution to amend it, because it could be that one's 4,500 instead of 4,000 or something.
Yes.
Ms. Terry? Yes.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Number 6, Parks Resolution to Fund Pavilion Construction.
Council Mayor. This is, we have before you a resolution that just transfers, the money's already been accepted from an individual, a $10,000 personal contribution to build a shelter down at City Lake, just off our walking trail down there. And the money is sitting there, but we just need to formalize the process of receiving that money and then allowing us to go ahead and start expenditures with that.
I make a motion, we approve this resolution.
Motion made and second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Terry? Unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. McKinney. Mine is next, number 7. It's a resolution for comp time payments. This is basically just a little housekeeping item. There was an incident where I had an employee that needed to be paid some comp time. It was not going to be, there was no resolution prior to the payment. We went ahead and did it as a convenience to that employee. And I had, I'm not sure, is the ordinance listed on here or the referring to the ordinance how I did this?
Well, original budget adoption resolution.
Okay.
Gives the board for that.
So basically,
Because it wasn't in the budget.
no, it's good. Did we explain that or not? Comp time was requested by an employee and would like to have been paid at the time of when the checks were out due to vacation. It was not. We went ahead and took care of that, so we're asking to come back and pass a resolution to approve.
I move that we accept the resolution.
Yes, second.
Motion made. Second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Terry? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, before we
Yes,
move
sir.
on, before I forget about this, on that last bill we talked about for the pavilion fund, I'm assuming since it's listed here that we could thank this Mr. Mark Morrison for the donation. I don't know if we publicly thank.
We have talked, we're in constant contact with him. He is out of state, lives in Kansas, and we have definitely thanked him. We've not done anything official.
Well, a lot of people make donations and kind of want to stay in them,
Sure.
but his name is listed here in this.
Yes, yeah, he was okay with that as far as that. He will be in, he'll be coming in. He has a sister-in-law that lives on the lake, so he'll be coming in and out. So at some point, we will, I'm not sure what we'll do for him. It's kind of an interesting situation. It mentioned it's his deceased wife, so he's a very nice gentleman, obviously, wanting to contribute that. So it's as a memorial to her. He did not want anything public attached to the pavilion itself regarding anything like that. So. Okay. Number 8, Parks, resolution for Freedom Fest donation expenditures.
We had 2 donations, one anonymous donor, $5,000 to use toward Freedom Fest above and beyond the A&P contribution, and then we had a $500 check that we received from Hug Chevrolet for our hospitality, which fed and watered our bands and all of our workers. And once again, the cash is in the bank. We just need to have permission to go ahead and spend that.
I'll make a motion to approve that resolution.
Second.
Motion made and second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Terry? Unanimous.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next is number 9, approval of Main Street overlay using state aid street program funds. We've gotten some material back from the Highway Department for the Main Street overlay. And I don't know if you remember all of the issues. This is a $250,000 project that the state Highway Department will put toward this. The conversation I had with the gentleman on the phone, I just called it and we knew it had been approved, or we kind of heard through the grapevine. In fact, Mr. Powell and Mr. Brown and I saw the plan for it down in Little Rock. By the way, when Mayor Joe Manus was in office, he was listed as the mayor on that document, so I took a picture of it and brought it back for him, but he obviously impressed somebody. We are approved. It's $250,000. Their estimate is a $260,000 project, so it very well could be, if we want it to go as far as they've got it. We have a map, and it's from Main Street to basically Hilltop, and that's around 260, and that's a guesstimate, and he actually used that word with me on the phone. So and we've already budgeted that, or we have it the funds are there. It's not. we'll come back and, we've not signed a contract with them yet. What they sent were some documents talking about how the overlay was going to look and the sections they were going to start. We don't know the start date yet or anything, but this resolution needs to be ordered so we can get the process started. He did tell me, he used the term, he didn't say go out for bid, he said some other term in August, and I don't remember that. No, it wasn't even really about the bid. He just, so I'm not sure how their process works yet, just trying to get used to it, but we are going to get a Main Street overlay at some point, probably right in the middle of school.
So you need this resolution in order to get the ball rolling?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I was just wondering, when you said that there's no out-of-pocket on us, or when that says that 100% for the city, for the right-of-way and utilities, does that just mean that we're in charge of that, or?
That's my understanding. Again, this is not a contract, but it's, Joe, do you have any other thought?
The meeting that I had with them, the state is going to put it out, their engineering, they're going to oversee the construction of, striping, everything. The only thing we have to meet is the sidewalk has to meet, existing sidewalk has to meet state spec. And that's something that we're inquiring the information about.
And that'll be on us.
Yes, sidewalks on.
But they'll fix it, but the payment will be on us.
We'll actually be fixing.
So that'll be worked out separate and apart from the overlay?
Yes.
And that would either be done interdepartmentally or put out for bid?
Yes.
And couldn't get the state to do that sidewalk as well? Because they did a jam dandy on the bridge.
Well, we have no documentation.
They did a good job on the bridge.
Joe was referring to, we actually have no documentation on that sidewalk at all, as far as what they're going to require. I know Joe, they spoke to Joe, and I mean, I don't doubt for a second that's what they're going to.
But the bargain is that if they're going to come overlay the street, we got to improve the sidewalk.
That's correct.
That sounds like a win-win to me. I second.
How, it's not going to be any widening? I mean, we're not looking for a third turn lane?
They're just overlaying the existing.
We already talked about the paw prints.
We'll get to the beta club on that later.
Yeah, that'd be the beta club. I don't think the state will do that.
But as far as ditch, there's some open ditches and that kind of stuff, we're not planning on tiling that?
No, because that would be curb and gutter, and
we can.
I mean, that would come out of our pocket.
That would come out of our pocket, and then you've got to look at the expense of relocating utilities.
You're right.
Is there any advantage, I don't know what overlaying entails, is there any advantage to utilizing this time to make some of those kind of improvements? I mean, we're going to have the street closed, I presume, for some period of time, correct, for the overlay?
Sections up.
Definitely.
I mean, is there anything that you can see that we ought to try to spend some money on to improve?
They told us it did not make a difference to them if we were to fix the street, fix the ditches, put the curb and gutter, fix sidewalks, do whatever we wanted to, streetscaping, they're still going to come in and put down $250,000 worth of asphalt.
Yes.
So we can, this is an opportunity to go in there and fix part of Main Street.
I think it's a wonderful opportunity. I think we ought to look into what other improvements we might be able to make during the time in which the road's closed. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just, and you may come back and it may be twice as much as the money they're going to give us to improve Main Street. I don't know what it's going to cost, but it wouldn't be, there's no harm in looking at it while we're, I mean, this is the prime avenue that the majority of the people see coming into our city as they come up to the school for different activities. And, we've got the little flags, and I love the flags sticking out that Kelly puts up, but I'm not trying to get on Kelly. I don't want to come out sounding like I'm against the flag line, but it has been brought to my attention by more than one person in the community that some people think the flag ought to be treated a little better than just off a telephone pole. Maybe there's an opportunity to come in there and put in some flag poles to if we want to have flags lining Main Street, maybe this is a chance to come in and have flags on flag poles lining Main Street as opposed to just sticking off the telephone poles. Does that bother anybody? There's people who have said stuff to me about that, and I'm just going on deaf ears here.
No, I think that, I kind of agree that maybe we just kind of at least look at it, to look at this opportunity, even if we could just improve it all the way up maybe to Chicago Street or whatever, and get that part
Up to the school.
you know, or as far as we can, to say that that looks 100%, you know.
I'm gonna suggest we do matching lighting because we're in the square.
Yeah, sure. Just put it all the way up on the sidewalk.
If we're gonna go that route.
Yeah,
That's gonna be my opinion,
absolutely.
So I'll just tell you right up front.
Let's just go
I
ahead and
mean,
change this
I
resolution
think
to
that's a
$2
great
million.
idea. I think we ought to look at those kind of things, you know, look at,
So Joe will have a whole lot easier time putting up his Christmas ornaments.
yeah. I mean, you can.
I mean, I'm just saying, if we're gonna do that, I mean, because I regret not putting more up Denver Street and down Jones Street when we've done that, when we had the opportunity to do it. You know, now we've done all this, I mean, it'd look even better to put some of those nice lighting poles up.
Absolutely.
You know, if at all possible.
So to the administration, it sounds like So if y'all want to explore this within the administration on maybe some additions, it sounds like the council would be willing to fund it.
We will do just that. Joe and I's actually
It's
had
just going to be the time issue is what.
Yeah. Joe and I have had a short conversation about that, about making more improvements, because I told, you know, you, Brown, Mr. Brown and Mr. Powell both asked the gentleman at Little or Rogers where we, last year or earlier this year, about just that. They did such a great job, or they, as the highway department, staying on top of the Denver Street Bridge. I mean, you don't make somebody rip up the sidewalk 3 times unless you mean it, and they did it, and it got right. So, sounds like we've got a lot of support, and I think Joe's job now is to start finding out some prices on other improvements to go along with it.
Well, the other one is that, I don't know if Mr. Mayor and you and Joe saw that little part there I said coming off Main Street onto, you know, the Center Street, you know, if that could, in the same process, be kind of more rounded.
Sidewalk. It won't have anything to do with this project.
Okay. I just thought this was all Main Street.
Well, that's actually on the center.
You talking about the curb?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway.
We got a motion second on this here
Motion
resolution,
second.
right?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
McCary?
Yes.
Webster?
Thank you, gentlemen. Number
You don't need
10,
to sit down, come on back.
street departments.
Okay, you have in front of you a resolution amending the 2014 City of Greenwood budget to increase salaries, officers, laborers within the street fund, and for other purposes.
You didn't have to read that, Powell. Resolution.
Any questions on it?
This is just for.
CDL. 3 of my employees have obtained CDLs, and I'd like to increase their pay.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Oh, too quick.
Motion made and second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
McCary?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lejeune is still here. I'm assuming that you're going to jump right in there and help get the street lights up Main. We'll get with you later. I know. We got our bicycle guy and everything right here. Next item on the agenda, number 11, is water appointments to the Water Commission. I have 5 names that I would like to recommend to the council for appointments, and I actually have these folks have all been talked to, and they're eager to help and serve, so I will read these names, and these are also attached to these names are the years that they have agreed to serve if council has an approval. John Bailey, 2 years. Martha Mizell, 4 years. Donnie Smith, 6 years. Lance Barton, 7 years. And Steve Rattery for 8 years. I have an alternate down as Mr. Kevin Heslin. The ordinance, and I don't have it with me, did not refer or regard, I don't think, any explanation of how the chairman was to be chosen. I'm assuming, to my recollection, it didn't anyway.
I think it leaves it up to them.
Okay, I know.
All those are on city water, right?
I do not know that. Mr. Barton may not be.
His
business?
This is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not talking about it, I'm talking about residents.
His residence is not, is that
That's
correct?
right.
The rest of them are with Mr. Barton, Dr. Barton.
Well, I can just tell you this, unfortunately, I wasn't for this commission from the drop of the word go, so you can have my father, uncles, and cousins on this, and I'm going to be against anybody, so however that sways this deal, I'm just letting y'all know up front. You're going to have a hard time getting anybody past me, so I just thought I'd drop that out there.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with it, I know that ordinance were to be put together, said they had to be, and it didn't say nothing about their businesses, because there's a ton of people whose businesses that,
Would you prefer to break them out individually and vote on them?
it's fine with me, I'm just saying,
Where do you think legally, did you, looking at the ordinance, might it specifically say residence, or would it just say utilize water, or what does it say?
To be honest with you, I don't recall off the top of my head. I know somebody contacted me, we discussed it at one point, but I don't remember what the exact terminology was.
We'd been through this before with Dr. Barton, I think on some other committee, wasn't there? There was this discussion about whether he was in the city or not.
That's what I was going to say. We've already set a prerequisite for it. He was on the water committee, and the same issue came up that he had to be on Greenwood Water, and they viewed his business, and however you want to look at that, that's how they accepted it at that time, and he was voted and approved on those basis.
Have y'all had a chance to look at this list? Are y'all satisfied?
Yeah, we're comfortable. Most everybody except for Donnie Smith has been serving, and we didn't want to slap anybody in the face. People have been coming down here and meeting once a month, and everyone on that list has been on the committee with the exception of Donnie Smith, and he brings a lot of expertise with his construction background and so on. But I think we're comfortable.
I'll second it.
Motion made and second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Tim Terry?
No.
Vice Terry?
we should stay.
That fails. Okay, let's start. And there's a 3 yes and 2 no. With 1 absent and the mayor's no.
Let me ask this question. If the issue, and I don't know that it is, if those that are voting no, is the issue of Dr. Barton and the alternate would make it better?
That's not.
Or make a difference? I know we've been with you.
Balls in your court, baby.
I vote yes.
Motion carries with the mayor's vote.
What was Donnie Smith's term?
6. You need me to get the rest of them? Okay. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. I have, that being the last item that we have. Did I miss one? Again, as far as the Freedom Fest, I just want to touch base, and I just was amazed at how smooth everything went, and I appreciate everybody's help on that. Brooke Holland deserves an applause too. We gave Ms. Brown one, and we're not going to give Mr. Brown an applause because he does what he's told to do. So it went very well. I think we're going to look at doing just a few things different next year, not much, because I think it just went fantastic. It was just a great time for our city. And I'm stalling because I thought I had another note. Did I have something else? I can't see that. Sorry. Mosquitoes. Let's talk about bugs. We know we're in that time of season. Thank you. I'm not sure what I did with. Oh, I have another thing too. Thank you. We're in that time of year. We've had a couple of calls, I think, and just some concerns about the mosquitoes situation. And typically, they're due to that 3-hour rain we got in 50 minutes. And Joe and I have been out looking at we're trying to figure out what are easements. By the way, we've been busy going to see what are drainage easements and what are not. And there's a lot of other things that we're going to rely on how you guys react to us cleaning things up. So we're really trying to get some things done. We're really trying to figure out how to go in that direction. But as far as mosquitoes go, we have, Brooke called Barling and Fort Smith 2 today. In the past, we have paid Fort Smith to come down and spray one time, or spray the city once, which took 2 nights to spray, if I remember, and it was $400. I've lost that notebook. It was $417.23 for that. We don't know how effective it was. We did it. It was the thing to do. Barling did not have price. Is that correct? Or okay, they weren't really interested in sending that truck over. So we're trying to investigate, see what we should do or what we can do. We have tablets, and other than what to call them, it's left over from last year, Joe, 2 years ago, that we have, that there was some system in place for customers to come down, or citizens to come down and pay $1.50 to pick those up. I feel silly charging citizen $1.50 for anything, much less after they come in and pay water bills and everything. So it's been recommended, or we're asking, I guess, to, not this administration decision or whatever. We've got, I don't know how many we have. Do we know? We want to get those to the public. So we want to, I think we're going to, with everybody's thoughts or permission, we're going to get those out to the public as quick as we can. Yes, sir.
How much is one of the machines to do what they do?
To buy one?
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Surely there's an Army surplus one somewhere. You got.
Well, I'm just asking.
No, I agree. If we can get one, I think.
A reasonable amount of money.
Yeah. Whatever money's left over when we streetscape Maine.
We can put it in the back of the park truck.
That's right. After he waters, he can go back and spray. We really want to, we're laughing, but it can be serious, and there is a new virus. Go ahead. Chikungunya, that sounds like a dance on YouTube to me. Anyway, we're going to look into that and see what we can come up with, but I think we're going to get these tablets out to the citizens, whatever we have. Pardon? Larvicide.
Can we check and see?
Sure.
Mosquitoes are not going to go away.
No.
They're going to be here from now on. So just be worth checking into that.
Let Joe watch. I think everybody kind of checks that surplus, that letter that comes in and comes on emails and stuff. So, yeah. Do you want us to hire a spray, or do you want to do something different?
Tie somebody up and out and wear pellets.
Well, they're packaged already. Those things come in big packages like this when you kind of break them apart like mints, if you will. Sorry. And, yeah.
What are they going to do when they get them? They're going to take them home.
Tools. That's kind of what started this whole thing.
If you wanted to go that route, it'd be one thing. I don't see any trouble charging $1.50. We do it for the recycle bins. I don't see any trouble charging $1.50. We do it for the recycle bins.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on it. Somebody acts like you want to spray, so that's administration. We'll take care of it. Right? No other. The other thing is rainbow fireworks, and just in case you are asked, as councilman especially, I think the fireworks were great, other than the 2 breaks in there from fires. They literally had a couple situations out on Comer's property. We had 40 to 50. I'm getting mixed reports of rockets that went off. I know they went off because I was there, heard about 11 o'clock. Didn't do much for the way it looked because it was 11 o'clock in the day, so they had an accident due to static electricity. And then later on during the show, there evidently were 2 different fires that there were several minutes of pause. I didn't hear a lot of complaining myself. I think what they did get up was really nice and beautiful. But all that said, Rainbow Fireworks owes us something. We paid for $10,000 and we didn't quite get that much and then spray out. So I called them today just to see what they were going to do for us, and finally got a hold of the owner, and what he wants to do is put it on next year's deal, or give us more fireworks for next year. I don't know if I like that. I'm going to get back with him Monday. He's going to let me know exactly how many rockets or things did not go off. So we'll get something for it, just in case somebody says, did we get our money's worth? If we didn't this year, we will next year, so.
There's a lot of compliments.
Pardon?
Got a lot of compliments.
Yeah, I mean, it's good compliments. I guess a compliment is good, yeah. Okay, any other questions or thoughts or concerns about anything going on in the city or should be going on in the city?
Are we gonna, are the committees, are the department reports, or are they?
Oh my word, I was ready to shut her down. Just trying to get out of here by now. I guess we'll do department reports, Mr. Wow. How you doing? Just for that, Greg Cross, would you like to give a report?
Since I didn't give it last week, I asked if I could take twice the time, and I was told I couldn't, but I'll try to make it quick. We had, my foreman goes out after big rains and checks the streams where we have sewers going across, and one over near Park Heights had washed out, and there was like 15 to 20 foot of pipe of a force main just sitting there. He puts it back together, put some metal around it, and then we got some gable stone, and it's a temporary fix right now because it's one of the lift stations we're going to make go away. I'm hoping within 2-3 months. So we're patching manholes by ourselves. The smaller ones that are in pretty good shape, that just have some leaks in them, they just go out and do that. We've got about a little over 25 we're going to have sprayed by Corgill Construction. They're the ones that come every year. We try to get them every year and do 10 to 15, as many as we could. It's usually about 7 to 9, but since we raised that spending up to $20,000, I can have them do a few more. And so they come and spray that really, really hard concrete. It's about a 1/4 inch, and it's harder than 4 inches of concrete, and it's hydrogen sulfide doesn't affect it. So that's a great deal. We received our notice of coverage for industrial stormwater on our general permit. We have a new permit coming out. I got a company out of Little Rock to help us try to dissuade ADEQ from having us treat for phosphates and nitrates and nitrites, and it looks like they've got us waived off for another 4 years. So I don't know how much that would cost, $300,000 or $400,000, maybe $500,000-600,000 to put that treatment into the wastewater treatment plant. But that's off, I'm pretty sure, for another 4 years. We got a notice of coverage. Anytime you have chemicals and everything, they come out and check you. And if you have any chemicals that get on the ground or any kind of treatment that gets on the ground, you can lose that treatment, and it can get really bad. But we did pass that. Our average treatment was 1,157,000 a day. We treated 34,718,000 last month. It's been fairly wet. So, and the water treatment, trihalometane removal system is at the health department. I've talked to the engineer, Marshall Hatfield, and I think the only problem he had was with mixing, since that we used that tank for a contact chamber. He didn't want to have the mixing cause a short circuit. I called the company. They sent 2 studies showing how it would actually help. So it's in their hands right now. Hopefully they'll approve that and get it back to us within the month, and we can start that. And that will help our trihalomethanes tremendously. At peak time, when we're selling 900,000 to 1 million gallons a day, it can reduce the trihalomethanes by 40%. So if we got them in at 100 from James 4, if it hit 100, it would take it down to 60. Now, that's if it's just in there for a very short time. The less water we use, especially in winter, the more time it has to sit there and get the trihalomethanes out. Plus, there's not as many, so it lowers those. So it's not just that 1/4 that's going to help. It's going to help all the quarters. I'm pretty sure I'm hoping it's going to help the taste a little bit too, because it is going to aerate. So taste is fine, but it never hurts to help a little bit if we can. We should be going out for bid, I'm hoping, in August for our fluoride injection system. That's something that the health department keeps calling me and writing letters about, but they were the ones that made us go through Delta Dental. And Delta Dental approved. We asked for $140,000. They approved $114,000. We did a little bit of work, and engineers came up with a number, and they finally okayed it, and it had to go back and forth a bunch of times. But we've got the money in the budget to build it, and then we get reimbursed for it. The one thing about it is, once we get it in, for the next 10 years, if you take it offline, you have to pay a certain amount, 2/10 of the cost of it if you shut it down after 8 years. So, but I'm sure we'll be using it from now on, so it's not a problem. We treated 724,377 gallons. Our water usage for the year, water loss, we've produced 105 million and sold 96 million. We've got a 8.2% loss, but that could change next week. It could go down to 4. You know, it just depends on what's in the lines and what's in the tanks. We also, I was handed something by the mayor that I was going to also show to the water committee. As of August, the increase for James Fork for their different customers is different amounts, but ours for 40,000 gallons and above will increase from $1.26 to $1.39 per thousand. That'll be about $24,000 more per year. But I have that money. I've always put extra money in there. We try to buy a minimum of $15,500,000 because I would rather buy a little bit over than to actually get $14,999,000 and have to pay for 1,000 gallons that we didn't get. So we try to go just a little bit over, and I've got some little bit of money padded in there, so we should be good. Is there any questions about anything?
How often those raises come? You're talking about 24,000. Does it have an annual deal?
This is actually the second one I believe I remember. They were gonna, at one time, they were gonna, I can't remember, Tim, they were gonna raise those once a year for a while, or I can't remember what they said in our contract. In the next 10 years, there were these 3 or 4 raises or something. I think there was some stretched up as they expanded the line, there was a cost. They also it's in our contract, and I can get to that contract.
Thank you, Greg. You said tri-held methane's 9 times.
I didn't say the other.
That's all I can. Thank you for keeping us safe with good water. Thank you, Mr. Posey.
I know there's been a lot of talk. I'm going to start off with this. A lot of talk about this commission and so on. And I think I can speak for Greg and myself. This council's been great to work for, and we consider we still work for this council. And we're going to look at it as an opportunity to put our best foot forward and have some continuity. If we could keep this council and keep this mayor forever, for the rest until we retire, things would be great. We have these little elections, and Greg breaks out in a rash, and I bite all my fingernails off. So it's quite something to deal with, but it's been good working with this council, and we still feel like we do, and always will. A lot of you have probably been noticing, I don't have a lot to report, but you may be noticing blue marks all around town. We're working on GPS 1 to 2 days a week. If we're not out actually taking the shots with the person from Western Arkansas Planning and Development, we're pre-marking, working ahead and trying to mark these lines. It's probably the best thing for the future of Greenwood that's ever happened in the water distribution system, because you can take this and, although we have maps, but they don't relate to anything. These will overlay with these type of maps in the real world, and as you know, GPS is very concise, and so we don't always know where these water lines are. And so we're noting confirmed and unconfirmed. Not all the pipe has trace water. We know it's kind of here or there. The GPS is very specific, so we're working towards that every week, and we're probably, we may be done this year. You'll never be done because your lines always change, and improvements and new lines come online, new fire hydrants. It's constant, but we've already captured all the hard objects, such as or fixed objects such as fire hydrants, valves, and water meters. At any rate, that's been a very big thing we're working on. Some I don't talk much about. We have a lot of time-sensitive things. Arkansas One Call. We get call-ins to locate our water line, and we want, obviously, that's number one. We got to protect the water lines, and we have 2 days to respond. We're working on backflow program, maintenance program. We're constantly sending out letters, to get devices checked. And those are things that are all time-sensitive. Meter reading. Water turn-offs, 25th of the month, turn people's water off. Work orders, 1st of the month. We've got a couple of groups of people. They all change addresses. They all move. We go out, turn the water on, turn the water off, keeps us busy. Don't talk much about that. Those are just our day-to-day things that we do. We fit in every day. Right now, having a big push to finish up this meter change-out program. We've got the schools are out. We're changing these larger meters out, and it requires sometimes corrective piping. We've got at least one business out that we're working on right now. They're out on vacation, and this guy's water meter's in his parking lot, and his meter's in his parking lot. You put a radio read meter in there, and it's going to get damaged. So we're correcting it and moving his over here and his over here, and it turns into a several-day process as we identify it and dig it up. So sounds easy, but we're to the very hard part. But right now, that's our number one priority, and that's what we've been pushing for. Other than that, we just had a handful of small leaks, just leaks on service lines, but they're time-consuming. They're just nagging. You know, they're in someone's front yard and they're making a mess, and not to mention we're losing water. But any questions?
Tim, I was wondering, the little box that goes around my meter is exposed. It's been that way since I've lived there. Do I need to get with y'all if I want to flush that with the ground, or is that something y'all do? I don't know.
Are you talking about your meter box itself, or the access box in front of your meter box?
There's a little metal deal with a black little plastic looking deal on top.
That's your meter box, and we have them. That's a real pet peeve of mine. I like them to sit flush. I like them to look good. Everything else is buried. That's what people see, not to mention they freeze. We go in there and set them. First thing contract does is come out there and run over them with a roofing truck, concrete truck, the truck, and they get like that, or they don't finish the grade right. So we've got them all around town that are less than desirable, and as time goes by, we correct them and fix them as we can. The problem is a lot of times we have to cut the customer service, and we do that too. We'll be glad to take a look at it and fix it, because a couple things happen. Your meter freezes, you're out of service. We lost a $182 meter potentially, and so we like to correct those when we can, and that's what you have.
A couple things. I didn't want to open the can of worms, have everybody come ask you to fix theirs, and two, I didn't want everybody thinking the councilman just getting the guys to do work at his house. But I was just wondering if that was something I needed to get with y'all, or if I could just do it.
You can do it. We'll let you do it. No, I'll look at it. What's your address?
635 Mount Harmony.
I know about where you live. But, okay. Yeah. Well,
the city limits?
Those little things, they're
I actually live in my ward and in the city limits.
we fix those all the time, and that's kind of a little bit
for rarity.
It's a little bit what's time consuming. These are just little nagging things, and we've got them all over town. They corrected, and we do correct them as time goes on, especially if we're out there and we've got a leak and we're working on it. We address it and fix it at that time. But I'll take a look at it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim. Tim's one of those guys that comes and lets me know things that could happen, so he keeps me up on it. It's almost too much information, but I appreciate him working as hard as he does. Chief Dawson.
Mayor, Council, Mr. Area, Mr. Hamby. Last month, we had 273 calls for service, 18 motor vehicle collisions, issued 201 warnings, and 142 traffic citations. Arrested 52 subjects, down a little bit from the 61 last month. CID was assigned 28 new cases and closed 22. 159 assigned for a year with 148 closed for a 93% closure rate. Training-wise, Corporal Hefner attended Cyber Cop 1 for 32 hours. Officer Farrah McConnell, criminal interdiction, 16 hours apiece. Lieutenant Driscoll, Lieutenant Hobbs, Sergeant Pitbull, Corporal Reed, advanced supervision, 24 hours apiece. Detective Deere, advanced investigations and intelligence, 16 hours. Investigator Fugit, SRO 1 for 40 hours. Corporal Hefner, Cyber Cop 2 for 24 hours. And Detective Deere and Sergeant Mergen investigating apparent suicides for 16 hours apiece, for a total of 272 hours of training. We assisted the True Grit bike race, helping them get through town this past month. We also did the rodeo parade, and I did my monthly 106.3 radio speech talk. That's all I have. If you have any questions.
I was just saying, I appreciate the chief with his heads up and getting that fellow arrested for the meth that he was trying to drive through town. And I appreciate how you said you found that, and just by noticing the, whatever you said, the change in behavior of the police or the guard dog, or whatever we have there.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for keeping us safe. Chief Bryant?
Mayor, yeah, I know I got to drive home tonight. Mayor, council, Ms. Derry, Mr. Hamby. Fire department chief activities for June 2014, we had 47 department responses. Out of those, we had 4 false alarms, a fire-related incident. We had a vehicle fire in a house that had just been flooded a couple hours before, so it was a bad day for that family. We had 3 motor vehicle collision with injury incidents, 1 hazardous condition incident, which happened to be power lines on top of a firework truck, and police department and fire worked well on that to keep traffic moving. 33 rescue medical incidents, 4 mutual aid rescue medical incidents, and 1 public assistance. Training, we had firefighters go to Lincoln and go through exterior fires, which is LP gas burn, and that's probably my favorite class to go to. It's a lot of fun, but it is a long, drawn-out day. We've had 2 personnel go through medical first responder training, and then another 4 personnel are continuing their EMT training throughout the summer. We attended or helped with the 4-H Safety Day up at the fairgrounds this year with the smokehouse, and farm marshal duties. We had inspections of the Greenwood school system. Meetings, conferences, attended the Arkansas Association of Fire Chief Conference in Hot Springs. During that conference, I was elected the 2nd Vice President of Arkansas Association of Fire Chiefs in line of succession, first Vice President after 2 years and President 2 years after that in the Executive Board, so it's a total of 8 years. I was given condolences by most of the fire chiefs, but anyway, it was a pretty big honor to be elected to that by the Association of Fire Chiefs. Other than that, we're still waiting to hear anything on the 2013 Assistance to Firefighters Grant, and that's all I have for now. Y'all have any questions?
Truck on its way.
As far as I know. Supposed to be delivered anytime.
Good deal. Thank you, Chief. And Chief Brian, Chief Dawson, both, I know I appreciate it. I know the citizen appreciates the continued training of you guys, your men. I mean, that's good to hear that you're not just sitting back doing what you do, you're training, so we appreciate that. It keeps us safe. Mr. McKinney, did you want to report or not? I don't know if...
I'll just give you a couple minutes. Mr. Goldstein's already addressed all of our stuff through the commission. I would just let you know if there's been any comments or concern, the grass in our Memorial Park looks absolutely terrible, and we've got above and beyond that's coming out there, and they said we have another beetle infestation, so they will take care of that and make it's probably the worst looking lawn in town right now. So that's being addressed, and working with Joe's crews this week, we hope to have the pad ready for the lake shelter, and that is an Eagle Scout project. That's everything. The lumber's already on site for that. So we're ready. Any questions?
You say the beetles are eating?
Yeah, they're coming in. If you look at that grass, that Bermuda grass, you can just rake your hand across it and it just comes off the top. All the roots are gone. It's just a surface sprigs, basically, is all that's left. And they've just come up underneath and just chewed it all.
You can have them drop them off at my house if you want.
Is there any money that needs to be allocated for that? Or?
I don't know yet. We're just going to try to get it treated. We're already on contract with them for service, so that may be included in that.
I don't know if this is parks or the clock. When was the last time we looked at it? At some point we looked at how much it was going to cost to get that thing up and running.
Yeah, the mayor and I climbed up in there last month, well, early in May, I guess.
Yeah, I don't like heights.
And looked at it. And it's, we've got photographs. It's not a pretty picture.
Maybe.
We tried to get all 3 faces to say, we tried to set them for the time of the tornado for the service, and we couldn't get all 4 of them to read the same thing at the same time. It's really
hopeless to fix? Surely
I
there's
wouldn't say
somebody.
hopeless, but
There's a gentleman in town, we've had a call from a gentleman, and probably, and I don't know that he's willing to get up in there. I guess he is, or he wouldn't be volunteering, but I think if that can't be fixed, my suggestion would be to take that out, put it over in the historical, or just, use it on display and get something up there that does work. I mean,
there's an electric motor in order to sink it in. I mean, nothing, there just goes up to a big worm gear, and then four rods go out.
There's tape and wires going everywhere.
But whatever we do, we're gonna have to put a top on that thing
Sure.
to keep the weather out of it, because that's
Absolutely.
the problem now. The weather's coming in, I mean, that wood's rotting up there.
Probably got
I
to
mean,
put
it's-
that next year's budget.
It's a train wreck.
Yeah,
It
we
really
need
is.
to address, it just seems like something that needs to be addressed. If you drive by, we've done such a nice job with that park, and that's something that every day I drive by and I just think.
We tried to start on that tower and fix that and then work our way out. There was some resistance at that time. So we said the park, we had to go ahead and expand and get that fixed. So that is not our goal initially, was to build the park all up nice around it and then try to fix the center. We really did want to do it the other way. But we did not fight that battle at that time.
Maybe this is a better time to fight it.
Might be.
I would be in favor of pulling those guts out and making them a historical donation or whatever to the Historical Society, and just putting in stuff there that we have a clock up there.
I got clocks in my house this big around the run off little AA battery.
Right,
So
these are four that have to be synchronized. And
Yeah.
that's part of the problem is the
I'd be
electric.
all right if this one said 901 and this one said 902.
I'd go with that too.
As long as when I was coming up at it, it was give or take 5 or 10 minutes.
And then
real time
the
of day.
calibration to keep it in time, I mean, it might gain 2 hours a day, the way that it's built. I mean, it's really.
But
That's
I'm
one thing
saying
you gotta
maybe,
take into
maybe
consideration.
pull the whole thing out
And have four separate
just
clocks up
replace
there.
it with
Yeah.
some kind of,
AAA batteries. right?
yeah, something, I mean, something that tells the right time.
I got it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna have a wreck looking at my cell phone trying to figure out what time it is coming through the square.
3:15 right now.
Every day.
We discussed, I think, the last meeting, y'all were going to A&P for some money to do some more curbing over there. and
Yes,
We
that's correct.
discussed that, and never, we kind of talked about it, and
Problem is A&P doesn't have any money.
well, I'm just saying.
Well,
I
it's
don't- I
curbing,
mean,
are you talking about addressing it, curbing now the tower?
look, I ain't worried about the tower.
Curbing.
I'm just bringing it back up, because
Oh,
the
just,
conversation here was,
Senator
y'all were
Files.
going to go to A&P and ask for some money, and
Right,
and even Dr. Johnson said, well, yeah, we'll see what A&P will do.
and Senator
And all that.
Jake Files gave us, has promised us $6,000. Add to, we have about $5,300 right now. We need about $9,700 to build that, so we'll have, as soon as we receive that grant, then we'll have plenty enough money.
So we need another $4,000 probably.
If he
something
gives us 6,000, we won't be done.
Are you talking about the curb?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be good. We'll be good.
like
We'll have
that.
enough money.
If Jake Files gives you the money.
Correct. And he's promised.
Well, we're revisiting the tower issue. I don't know, y'all were talking about donating to the historical. I just donate that thing to the Yaffe Society and get some money back for the metal in it and offset some of the cost for replacing it.
I'll show you some photos.
It's not much.
There's no metal in it?
You probably.
It's a gobbled up, man.
You might get.
It looks like an old
looked at it.
treadle sewing machine. That's what it looks like with an electric motor on it. It's-
And the arms literally are, you're about 8 foot.
Yeah, and
out
they're
on
and
each.
quarter-inch rods that go out to each clock
Get a good
face.
tool and die guy to fix it.
From down below, you think there's just a lot of stuff up there, and you get up there, there's not much. Courthouse, yeah. Yeah.
it's going to become a structural safety issue shortly with the laminated beams up on top to hold the bell up. We're going to have that'll have to be addressed. And then the spalling, we've got photos of the top of the column. It is spalled out where the rebar is exposed and the rust is expanding and pushing kind of mushroom at the top of those columns.
Well, I'm not so much for renovations of the tower look itself, just get the clock working, because that tower's on a logo of the city, isn't it? If I'm not mistaken. Well, I mean, I like
make it leave the tower, just make it pull the guts out, whatever you have to do to make it safe. So the bell doesn't fall out and just snap you up a little double-A battery.
We really need to address the structural integrity of that tower. If we fix the clock and the tower falls down around it, we've kind of wasted it.
Well, if that's the case, then yeah, we need to look into it.
It's definitely going to have a roof put on. It's got a top.
I'm just lobbying to do something with it. I don't have a strong feeling whether it's fix it,
I'll bring it
gut
up.
it. I like the idea of leaving the tower. I don't like the idea of tearing the whole tower down, but doing something with it.
Could you go back to Parks and tell them we were wanting some costs that we can consider?
I'll do it.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Richard. Mr. Bell. By the way, you're doing a great job.
First of all, I'd like to echo what Tim said about the council and the mayor, but I'd also like to add Ms. Deary and Mr. Hamby. You don't realize how good it is to work around these guys. Charlotte, for some reason, another, and somehow another, has everything at her fingertips that you ever want to know about operating the city. And Mr. Hamby always has an answer for us. You might not like the answer, but he always has an answer. So I'd like to add those to the compliment that Tim gave. You have in front of you a copy of our the monthly report for the Planning, Building, Code Enforcement, and Animal Control Department. First of all, in our Planning and Building Department, the good news is the oaks isn't dead. We've got 3 new structures going up out there. We're going to revisit this subdivision at the next Planning Commission because in the original subdivision there were some concessions made on sidewalks because of for example, the northern part that supposedly is going to connect with Main Street one of these days because of the terrain and the properties that were originally proposed there with a driveway, common driveway that goes behind the houses and all that. Those are off the table, and so the Planning Commission gave them a concession of not putting a sidewalk on that side of that collector, and we're going to go back and say, this is basically a new subdivision. These lots are platted out here, but we want sidewalks here, here, and here, and because, like I say, the original plan is off the table. But we had 18 inspections for floodplain inquiries. It's amazing how many floodplain inquiries we have during the month. I thought once that this hit the fan that it would kind of ease down, and it has, but we still have people that are getting ready to sell their house or wanting to buy a house, and all of a sudden they find out it's in a floodplain. Don works with them to correct it if he can through a letter, through a surveyor and things like this. Sometimes we can't, but he's also keeping up with the government too when they do a new study, because we did so much work, say for example, the creek through the Oaks and by Walgreens, the cleaning out of the creeks back there. We have eliminated a lot of floodplain problems, but we continue to have to go by their old map until they change it. It's kind of like the census. We're going to be stuck on that number until they change the census. And in animal control, Joseph's had 68 animal control calls, including a pack of skunks up around the school. He caught 8 in one day. He also caught 1 loose pig this month. Don't know where it came from, but I've got the pictures to prove it. He transported 16 animals to the local vet, 19 animals to the Sebastian County Humane Society, had 6 animal cleanups, and he spoke to the Westwood Elementary School on animal safety and benefits of rescuing pets. Code enforcement, he had 37 code enforcement calls, which the majority of them being tall grass, abandoned vehicles, and limbs and ditches blocking the flow of water. The Parks and Recreation crew has completed 3 properties, and these are ready to present to Mr. Hamby for liens. Also, last month we had a subdivision review. The properties that the former Deer Run properties up behind Maple Ridge have been sold. The gentleman that bought it is looking at different ideas on subdivisions up there. Hadn't come up with anything. We went over the old map that was, or the old subdivision that was originally planned up there. He doesn't know whether he wants to do that or state lots or whatever right now. He said he might cut it in 2 and put 2 nice houses up there and call it home. But anyhow, that's an ongoing project. And also this week we have a review of a gentleman that is looking at the land behind the Farmers Co-op, a large area back there with an access through where your grandmother used to live, for a smaller subdivision. It's still probably 20 houses, something like that, and maybe some multifamily back in a cul-de-sac. So, but that's a report from my group this month. Do you have any questions? Yes, sir.
Well, I appreciate all your hard work on the annexation, but and as that thing starts kind of winding down, if you have some time, you can talk to your boss. I would like to get at a point to where the city of Greenwood, the city of Fort Smith, and the Sebastian County are all looking at the same pedestrian, bicycle, comprehensive plan, where we're all passing the same plan at the same time. And I don't know what that would take, but it does seem like we're at a unique opportunity now because we've got a mayor that went to school with the city administrator in Fort Smith. We've got a county judge who's very bicycle, who likes bicycles and stuff like that. It seems like we could go in and get with these entities and determine some streets like Main Street, in this comprehensive plan, that it's going to have a bicycle trail and it's going to have a multi-use trail. No matter who annexes it, who does it, we're going to hold these developers responsible, or we're going to get the easement, or whatever we're going to do. But we, as 3 different entities, would agree among each other that this is going to happen, and that Fort Smith's not doing their little unique thing, and we're doing our unique thing. It'd be nice if everything kind of combined and worked together.
Let me tell you where I am on that. Doug and I met with the state highway department. Has a division for sidewalks and bicycle trails. I had them down in Greenwood to look at our Center Street. I think we've talked about this before, about bicycles trying to get, and pedestrians trying to get through our bridges. And so we're looking at that, and also I keep pushing North Main because there's so much bike traffic between Greenwood and Chaffee Crossing, and that you take your life in your own hands if you're on a bicycle going out that way. And you're right, Judge Hudson is a big bike fan, and one thing that I found surprising was when we met with them, Greenwood was the only one that had a bike path plan, their comprehensive plan. The others have, ideas, but we had it down in writing. We had a map to go with it, so that went a long way with the state people that we were looking forward. And so, hopefully, again, between the 3 entities, that we can do that and connect some of these roads and make it safer for bikes to be on those roads.
Well, maybe we do have that pedestrian bicycle plan. Maybe we could expand it, and it's going to take somebody in the 3 entities to start this, and maybe that should be us. And so a bridge doesn't get built on North Main where it's not considered, whether it's built in the county or whether it's built in Greenwood or whether it's built in Fort Smith. So anyway, I think we got a unique opportunity with the mayor and the city administrator.
I don't think you would have an argument at all with Judge Hudson if he was building replacing some of those bridges on North Main. they would
So it may, but it may be up to us to kind of plan this out and go say, hey, what do y'all think? Why don't you adopt it? Here, in fact, we've written the ordinance for you. It's the same ordinance we're going to adopt, and y'all are going to adopt the same ordinance, and here's quorum court, here's an ordinance, or whatever they call
And
it.
along the same line, Rodney, you remember some years ago we did the comprehensive plan for Greenwood. Well, that's outdated, and so I've contacted Von Duggan and James Waldron on what they need from us to bring this up to date. You know, we're looking at different zonings. We've got commercial guidelines now, so we've got different zonings that we want to look at. With the annexation, we're going to have to look at that. So I'm starting the wheels rolling on the comprehensive plan, and hopefully we can bring that up to date. And along with that, that includes bikes and walking trails.
I got 2 points, Sonny. We talked about the Oaks subdivision getting going. That's great. I got a friend that lives out there, and so I'm glad to see some houses going. But as far as the original, you said that some of the original agreements were out the window and stuff like that. I don't know how the bonding issue went with the original folks. They just null and void since there's no way you can recoup any of that.
No, they fall back under our subdivision regulations that, where Collector Street's supposed to have sidewalks on both sides. In 2 cases out there, it was agreed that there'd be the sidewalks on one side. But a lot of that had to do with the fact that Branson was going to put in a park. He was going to do this, he was going to do that. So it was one of these things that, okay, if you do this, we'll do this. So that's off the table now. Yeah. And so we're back to our original subdivision rules where it says that there'll be sidewalks on both sides of Collector Street. Some of the houses that you see going in out there are on the right side of the Collector Street. They will have a sidewalk here now.
Okay. Second thing was, you mentioned a gentleman in the Deer Run.
Yes.
Well, as bad as I hate to say this, if he comes to y'all with any sort of subdivision, plat, whatever, to go ahead and tell him there better be a water tank involved.
Well, we've already talked about that. Location, what size, Tim was involved with that. He knows that, there's a number. There are 2 houses, he doesn't have to do a water tank. But 40 houses, you better start building a tank.
Because I doubt a plat will get through this board here if it's
No, it won't get through the planning commission. It won't get that far.
That'd be the easy way for us to save a bunch of money.
A tank with a mural on it.
Mural, be fine. I don't care.
Thank you, Sonny. Appreciate it. Sir? Mural of the mayor. If you insist, yes. That'd be all right. Captain America. Thank you, Sonny, for the good news. Sounds like there's lots of things cooking. I know there's things on the table, and I'll be looking forward to working with Mr. Gossett, who's Mr. Powell's referring to. We've talked a little bit already, so hopefully we can get all together, do some stuff. The other thing, Joe, you'll come up your next, or while you're coming up, because it'll take you a long time on it. The one thing, as far as when we start talking about sidewalks, let's always try to, and I know it's a highway, but we've got to do something for those folks walking down from the Greenwood Retirement Center to wherever they're going. I don't know how we're going to do it, but it's a highway. Go ahead.
Are you talking about right here on Center Street? Center Street Highway?
Yeah. And I don't know if we had a sidewalk, they'd walk on it, but we'll have some.
That's the area that I wanted to look at from Brian Rush's.
Right.
All the way to Greenwood.
Yeah.
We have those bridges and no sidewalk, and like you said, those roads are out there all the time.
Yeah.
They're building walking down North Lane. I see him in the morning.
He comes from Gate 9, believe it or not.
He can be out in the middle of the road, be on the side of the road.
We've got him a little bit of sidewalk to get on. Richard does now, so.
Well, and too, somebody has mowed some areas out there, so he can get off the road a little bit.
We did that. I didn't know, right? When I say we, you mowed along Main out there. Just say yes.
They're mowing all over. I can't pick out one specific area. Okay. No changes. Any questions? Chief, I better drive home too.
That was quick.
No. As Doug said, or the mayor said, we have been visiting some drainage issues. been getting a lot of calls on plugged up ditches. A lot of people aren't aware that 95% of these ditches that we go evaluate is because of not being maintained. So regardless of how many ordinances we write up, if we do not, if the people don't abide by them, then they're not doing the big good. So we need to come up with some kind of, whether it be a citation, number of days that they're allowed to let it keep growing, or we're just going to go clean it up and not maintain our streets. So that's one of my issues that I've got going on right now, because since this last rain, I couldn't tell you how many numbers of calls that we have gotten because of people's drainage ditches are stopped up. We go out and look at them, and there's trees 6 inches across grown up right in the middle of the ditch. It's catching debris, chairs, everything else. So I think we need to at least address the people that's not maintaining their ditches. It's our responsibility to clean them out, but it's their responsibility to maintain. And it's not being done.
Look, your drainage ditch is this big around one, it's this big around the other.
Now, is it a drainage ditch or is it a tile?
Tile.
Because that's not a drainage ditch. And I don't know.
It comes up through the middle of the road when it rains over the whole thing.
There's a number of those drainage tiles like that that's been put in that I do not know were approved. Because I know every 60 feet they're supposed to have a clean out. And there's a number of them that do not have a clean out whatsoever. So therefore, if they get plugged up halfway through,
I think that
you can't clean them out.
Crew that was here when we had some water line replacements done used that specifically lot for their storage for gravel and all. So they were supposed to put something in there.
Supposed to repair it.
It's about right.
We had one of those hot water tanks. Tiles out of it, hot water tanks, that skins on hot water tanks. The water line, it all fell apart.
It rusted away.
Well, Joe, in defense of some folks, and I remember people before I was even involved in city government that weren't sure if the ditch was their responsibility or the city's, and some folks just don't know. And I guess that to defend some people, why is the city not cleaning out that tree out of my front yard? You know, I know.
But I don't know if it's, whose responsibility is it to let them know about the ordinance.
Right.
Because there is an ordinance written up.
I mean, that's Joseph's job. That's code enforcement, so that's Joseph.
He's working on it. We've got some block that one on the creek, for example. They came by, they call everything that ditch. So,
I know where you're talking about.
Go out there and say,
I know you do.
good job,
Yeah.
We've done that in several occasions, but again, there's places around.
The developments are more than anything.
You got a rental house, and this guy is going to the road and maintaining the renter, and this guy will mow up to the ditch. So it's a and it might be something to look at doing an ad in the newspaper, kind of explain it to them, and then try to get the word out. Taking out silt, but they're not responsible for it. I was in Martinsville, Missouri one time, just outside of St. Louis. Everybody that mowed all the way to the edge of the road and all of this trash on the ground. I was just amazed. They all mowed at the same time, but competition. This guy mowed that down. So you never know, people do some too hard. People may not realize that they're supposed to mow that right to the road. So, the one that you talked to, they never, that's extra for. Some of them have been.
Let's say.
I think the ordinances are there, the policy's there. It's just up to y'all on how you communicate.
You got to make sure Joseph knows which ones are more important to you. This one's really bothering me, Joseph. I'd rather talk to them at the house and write them a ticket. Because all that stuff is there to write them tickets. And all that law and ordinance. And it's all in place for that.
That's one thing we discussed with Mr. Handy was make sure that Joseph was legal for him to write citations.
It is though, isn't it? So, I mean, you can go write them tickets. You just got to make sure you're talking to Joseph and say, that ditch right there is going to cause us some trouble if you don't go talk to him.
I can just give him the developments.
Yeah.
Because the main problem with people put up privacy fences on each side of drainage easement or utility easement, they think that is the end of their responsibility. If they cannot see beyond that privacy fence, they do not maintain it.
One of the issues that Joe and I are finding as we go out, I mean, Joe's done this a lot longer than I have, but when I get to go out to see, you know, and I know the city has a hard time. I mean, if there's an 85-year-old lady living there by herself, and who does she get to mow that, or how does that happen? I mean, it's just tough. It's a tough business.
I bet that 85-year-old woman with kids and grandkids.
Put their privacy fence up and
Yeah.
get themselves a little leeway. They've got to put the privacy fence up, give themselves leeway. Then you have a path like this between two houses.
Right.
That these things are going up, and that's all we go. And it's going to happen.
Mr.
Why don't we have to go and look at these bids?
Oh, yeah.
They may do it twice a year with the restaurant. At which point they drive up on my property, and you get there and they keep ruts. My road, hand road, this area. The county does not have any property. I don't believe that well. The West Coast, that's one state. That's going to become a lot more obvious when we get the other side.
But they're really nice. Michael, did you work that into the architect? I agree. There's county areas and there's.
Look at it because of the culverts and tiles and so on. The ditches, they're having to police the one. Depending on how kind of road. There's also ditch there. Narrow road, no shoulders, no roofs. We're doing that, we're doing it everything. The police come out of it. But that's not a road there. That's the town.
You're talking about on the outside of the fence, right? The right of way.
I think it's one of those things.
I think it's probably ours. It's probably right of way of ours.
Any more questions?
And that's all over. The highway department, same difference. I mean, right here at City Hall is just, it gets out near the creek there by the wrecker service. That's irritates me every time.
That's right.
Say that again.
Doesn't matter whether it's right away or not, you still have the surface right areas there you're supposed to maintain it.
By ordinance.
I believe the government made a phone call.
Mr. Edwards, you had a question or a comment?
Not unless they want their fences to wash away. Because of erosion. Any more questions?
I do. The sidewalk, I'm sorry. Sidewalk over in Mount Harmon coming around to do we have the property, the right of ways all set up?
I've got easements on all that. We just signed the documents, sell them back to Little Rock for the sidewalk on Ken and Mount Harmon.
Oh.
I saw a lady walking through the weeds around the white flag the other day down there.
It'd just be nice if we could get that done before school, get at least started on it before school kicks out. That may be a bold.
Can't start it before the state says we can. And like I said, we just got the paperwork back in, signed it, sent it back off.
And that paperwork we signed was really kind of a document that said, when you send this back, we'll send you something else to
We'll
sign.
send you the application.
But now
back.
we could already start,
For the permit.
is there any of it we could do along Mount Harmon? There's nothing before.
They said we are not to break dirt. It could postpone actions even longer.
You talking about coming down Mount Harmon?
Yeah.
And that's why I haven't
That's
even had the landowners sign the easements. I mean, I've got the easements written up and ready to sign, but the state said do not do anything prior to getting the permit.
Fair enough, I just wanted to know where we were.
Well,
On occasions, we do try to take a tractor through there and brush hog it, but it's hard to pick our battles whenever we're fighting wars.
hopefully they'll sandbag it up when somebody develop that corner, we can make them put on the sidewalk.
I know.
That's all right.
Betty's not known to sell a lot.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Just for the record, and it's, Joe and I are continually to discuss in little short meetings and bursts of conversations about, hopefully the council will back us up on this at some point. I'm not sure what point we'll come back to you with some real good plan, but we're talking about really having the street department, I don't mean this bad in any sort of way, but will allow you. Joe had bangs when he started, I think. So he's pulling his hair out, not getting to do the things that he would like to do, is fixing streets and paving streets and that sort of thing. So we're working on a plan to bring back to you guys to say, here's his department, let's do this with the street money, and let's create or do something about maintenance with something else. So that's an idea, if you will. Any other comments or questions or anything? It's already late, we're past 9 o'clock. Yes, sir.
On the idea of Freedom Fest, I went out, most of you were probably involved in Freedom Fest, certainly all the department heads, and everyone was busy. But I happened to go out for a drive in my Italian sports car that evening to get out of the crowds here. But I drove down 10 to Boonville Magazine, then drove up to Paris, came back through Charleston, in that area, and Greenwood had the only downtown that was actually occupied by people. I don't know if Boonville had any activities or not. They weren't downtown. It was deserted down there. Charleston fireworks are, I guess, on the east side of town, out by the big retirement center in the old National Guard where their city hall and stuff is now. Downtown was deserted. Downtown Paris, again, maybe they were doing something in Paris, but it wasn't downtown. It was empty, and it was good to see that Greenwood and that square, and that is, whatever happens in the city, we've got to hang on to that square. No highway department putting a 5-lane road to it just so people can drive through really quickly. I'd like to see a clock tower knocked down. That's been nice since 1969, in my opinion. But that square is a jewel. It was good 5 years ago. It is wonderful now, and I can say that even though my brother isn't here now, coming in. But the people who worked on that, it is something to be proud of, and something we've got to hang on to, and something we've got to improve on. I'd love to see the city come up with some kind of cohesive architectural design, get the property owners around the square to come up with some appropriate design features to make it look uniform. Not alike, but common design pattern like you would see in the planning communities. We can't do anything about the courthouse. That's the worst thing about the '68 tornado was it occurred when architecture in this country was at an all-time low. So we've got a warehouse sitting there now. That would never happen. But what the city's done and what it can do, and when you compare it to the other towns that you drive around on those evenings, it was a huge difference. And made this look like a real community. The others were just empty places. So for everyone who worked on that, who's working on the square, who works on Freedom Fest, I can say it makes you proud to be in this community.
Thank you, Mr. McKinney. Can't end with a better note than that.
Well, I just want to say one thing to tag along with Mr. McKinney's, and at the risk of being partial, I would say that this Freedom Fest was the best ever, but it was really a tribute to, I think, the mayor It's just refreshing to have support from the mayor's office and it just seemed like things went so much smoother, so much easier, and therefore I think it was truly the best Freedom Fest ever. And so I really appreciate you getting behind it and supporting it, Mr. Mayor. And also I have to still say, yes, architecturally the courthouse is not what it used to be, but I sure appreciate Judge Hudson's for what he has done and worked with the city in improving the looks over there and just working with us. And so I think, really, I just think Greenwood's future is bright with the mayor that we have in place. And again, thank you so much, Mayor, for your support.
Thank you. It is an honor and a pleasure to serve this community. Entertain a motion.
Well, I'll make a motion. We adjourn.
Motion made and seconded. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Passed unanimously to change that. Law about the mayor's vacancy from making that 1 year 6 months.
I saw something
I
there.
asked,
6 months.
6 months. It says 1 year.
Yeah.
They want to replace it for 6 months.
Why are you trying to get the sign?
I asked
I
him.
don't even have to
This
get
week,
out
of course,
there.
our sharp nose all down there. And he said, we weren't home. More than died down in the small.